So, unlike most other folks in my generation, I didn't actually grow up on anime. Not the same way other kids did. I had Toonami when we had cable, so I really fucked with like Inuyasha and Zatch. I really liked Zatch. Inuyasha was pretty dope too, but Zatch, that's more of a niche one that not many people, even from my generation, remember. But I assure you, it did exist. Um, yeah, I really tended to vibe more with cartoons of the West. You know, I got shit on for this a lot. Even when I was a kid, I really liked like the Powerpuff Girls. It was my shit. And just like every other kid, I grew up on like Dora. You know what I'm saying? So I never really had that DBZ, the big three, normie to Weeb pipeline you hear about. Uh, it was actually kind of like TMNT to Naruto to Weeb, right? So basically, that's a super simplified version of it. Uh, I'll really get into that later. Firstly, I really should set the scene, kind of. What I'm saying, give some context. See, my mom was born in 77, right? She grew up right at the height of Turtlemania, back in the late 80s, early 90s. 87 cartoon was going on. Then you had the 1990 movie, was the highest grossing movie of all time for a long time. Uh, I can't remember what movie beat it out. Eventually, something did beat it out. A couple of that with us having no cable until I moved to the city, uh, circa '04. I was practically born. Turtles fan, came out the womb. Uh, Hand half shut, you know what I'm saying? Uh, the '03 cartoon was the Bible the way it had a hold on my soul, right? It's actually safe to say that without the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's possible I wouldn't even care about Naruto to begin with. Which, if any of y'all watching this know me and we've talked, you know that's practically blasphemy. Naruto for the longest time has been my life, you know what I'm saying? Uh, anyway, since they're what got me into ninjas, the TMNT. That said, there's something else about the Turtles I was a super huge fan of. It was the tone. Now when I say tone, it should be noted that I'm exclusively referring to the 2K3 show, as even though I was a fan of the original animation, I wasn't old enough to really care much about the show beyond, hey, this kind of looks cool. It's important to remember I was born in '98, so so I was only 5 when the 2003 first dropped. So it really was the one I grew up on. Anyway, not to sound like some, not to be one of them guys. Uh, to me, to my 5-year-old self, it wasn't like other shows. It had darker, it had a darker and grittier tone, the environment and plot that didn't treat its child audience like we were stupid. You know, there's a few infamous episodes that were pulled from production because they did get too dark, and it was a kid's show, but for the most part, it was treated us with respect and the maturity that we deserved. I feel at least, uh, and it really still holds up to this day to my 24-year-old scrutiny, right? I I like to go back and watch it every now and again, not just for nostalgia, but that's a factor too. But even when I take my rose tinted glasses off, it still hits. Uh, especially when all the adults around me, if they watch cartoons, uh, it was shit like The Simpsons or Family Guy, which, don't get me wrong, is genius animation in its own right. Uh, I couldn't appreciate it at the time, but that doesn't take away from the shit that they did for animation, especially The Simpsons. Uh, I really felt deep in my 5-year-old soul that I was watching, sophisticated programming with real states and and drama. See, that's it. That's the key word right there, though. Real. These characters feel like real people that could feasibly exist. There were so many cartoons back then that shade to the VAs to the writers. I don't ever want to talk shit. Art is subjective. It is what it is. Uh, it might not be my cup of tea. That doesn't make it bad. Uh, anyway, so many cartoons back then that had their characters doing insane shit that no real human would ever even consider. Like, y'all know how uh, anime, yeah, especially dub, is kind of infamous for talking in a way that it's almost like bots talking to each other. Like, no one would ever talk like this in an actual, real, natural, flowing conversation. That's kind of what it felt like. You know what I'm saying? Uh, like the dialogue, you could tell they were reading a script. At least that's how it generally felt back then. Now, oppose that with the turtles and their environment, who all sound like people in real life. I'd often find myself thinking of my best friend at the time, uh, Mario, whenever Casey and Raphael would have a scene together, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Point is, these characters felt more human than almost any other cartoons in the industry back then. Again, I was still single digits. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of how I felt at the time. Still, kinda. If I go and look back, it's still it's like that. You know what I'm saying? So when I got into middle school, there's this new craze spreading throughout my generation. Throughout my classes. Yeah, older kids had them too. That's why I say my generation, not just my class. Uh, yeah, there's this new sensation spread through the nation. The Naruto collectible card game, the CCG. Yeah, that's right. I didn't get exposed to Naruto through Toonami or any other normal programming, but through a card game that my peers were trading when they ran out of other things to trade. You get me? I thought the art was pretty, so I decided to look into it. Turns out it's about ninjas. Uh, say less. And if you've seen Naruto, you know it can be pretty dramatic, pretty serious. You get me? Uh, Even to this day, outside of arguing with the titular character outside of Naruto, well, as much as I love Naruto as a character and a protagonist, uh, the cast still feels so real. Like I could go outside and find people similar to them. And, I wanted more. And that's how I got to my Weeb phase. Uh, I stayed there. I think it was maybe last year in middle school. Mm, I'm not entirely sure about that, but I don't know. I think that's when I started to recover. My even though I kind of started to get out of that idea, uh, my image of the animation industry out here in the West didn't really start to recover until I graduated high school. Then my fiance introduced me to classics like How About Boston Has One Hotel. Just totally go watch them, by the way, especially How About Boss. Contended best cartoon this decade, easily. I don't want to hear shit. Go fucking watch it. Uh, I found out TMNT got 2 more reboots, and yeah, that's it. That's how I became a weeb, and I guess how I stopped being a weeb too. Huh. Character development.